next guest believes that the government should utilize provisions under the Jamaica Constabulary Force Act to address the crime problem plaguing St. James, instead of relying on a state of public emergency. Joining us this morning is Jamaicans for Justice Executive Director, Michael Jackson. Morning, Michael.
Morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning to you both. I appreciate being here.
Great to see you. Explain what Delia just said about the JCF Act as opposed to what's happening now. What do you mean when they say they should use that? Tell me about that.
Well, I think the first thing that our listeners need to understand is that the Jamaica Constabulary Force Act, as well as other pieces of legislation, does give the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the law enforcement officers, certain powers. Now, if sometimes you're watching the news and you hear about an uprising in a particular community, you hear that the police, for example, impose curfew in certain areas. You will hear, for example, that certain areas are cordoned off. In other words, it block off. Those are some of the existing powers that exist. If it is that you run afoul of the law, for example, and there is sufficient evidence, the police can so charge you and you're brought before the courts for you to answer to those charges. What the state of public emergency offers, everything that we just described, except that the police now has extraordinary powers to go into your homes without a search warrant. The police has extraordinary powers to pull you over on the road, ask you questions, and you're compelled to answer. So in other words, the state of public emergency allows law enforcement officers to circumvent the usual operations of the country, where those who are so-called suspects of crime, they can be pulled over, they can be questioned, and let's forget about the rule of law in the country, because the court system apparently no longer exists when a state of public emergency has been declared. And that is what we have a fundamental problem with. No evidence, no nothing. Just because you're on the police radar, they can come, open your doors and ask you whatever question that they want to ask you. So all of those constitutional protections that you have in any country has gotten rid of under a state of public emergency.
Michael, it seems you've been talking about this forever. And I don't know. Where do we go? What is your suggestion? Because one thing to say, this is not working. What will work? Because I think that's the challenge. Jamaicans want this plague of crime to stop. What will work if that is not the solution?
You know, we are all affected by crime, and JFJ, we actually went into Montego Bay. We went into St. James, let me say that. We've gone into communities in Kingston and we've spoken to citizens there. So we're not speaking from a theoretical perspective. We're not speaking from our desk at Jamaicans for Justice in Kingston. We've gone into the communities and we asked them, what do you want? They want more police boots on the ground because they are fearful. They want to get a sense that they are being secured by the state. And there is nothing currently in law that prevents the government from having more police boots on the ground under the Jamaica Constabulary Force Act. People want to get a sense that if it is that they speak up, how will they be protected? So one of the things that JFJ has been advocating for is for the government to strengthen the witness protection program. That if people speak up, that there is sufficient resources to protect them, to possibly relocate them. So those are some of the immediate things that come to mind. Because if you speak up, if it is that you speak out against somebody, you want to be assured that there will be no reprisal against you. So those two immediate solutions come to mind to the government of Jamaica. Now, I want to also say that the government has already been doing certain things. When you look at the work from the Jamaica Social Investment Funds, you see when there is community renewal efforts, you see where there is infrastructural changes and improvement into the communities, because you have to improve communities enough for them to feel better. So you already see those things happening. But I think sometimes for political expediency, the governments put forward things like state of public emergency because unfortunately you won't see the results of their efforts within that 5-year period. So it's not to say that things are not being done already. The challenge that we're having is that the results will go across administrations. It is going to take years for us to feel them, and therefore the government is saying, let's put in place the state of public emergency. Let's pass these draconian laws so the public feel as if we're doing something. And that is the challenge that we're having.
Mikel, I'm not a friend with the devil, but let me play the proverbial devil's advocate here.
Yes.
With what is going on with our country, kids being killed, I mean, how much million murders a year and stuff, obviously I'm exaggerating there. What is wrong if both of us have a little discomfort in our daily lives in trying to fix this? What's wrong with that? So when I say discomfort, yeah, them going to pull me over 5 times for the day. I don't want that. But if that can help, or are you suggesting that not helping?
Well, firstly, it's not helping because SOEs were declared in January 2018. The murder rate at that time was 1,287. We had a serial declaration of SOEs for close to 6 years. Last year, the murder rate ended at 1,498. So I asked the question, what is helping? We're seeing the murder rate trending down, but there are other variables at play. And 2023 is the only year that we've had less state of public emergency. So again, we may say SOE says lies, but the evidence isn't there to support it.
Okay.
Now you ask the question about people giving up their rights. I say, whose rights are you giving up? The reality is, Neville, you have the benefit of a popular face. If the police were to pull you over, the likelihood of you being detained for over 400 days, like some of the clients that JFJ has had, it wouldn't happen.
Fair enough.
The likelihood of me being detained if I'm driving the car and can speak standard English would be reduced compared to someone who lives in an inner city area, who don't speak the standard English, who don't suggest that they come from some uptown community. So people are treated differently. And I think until we come to a place of understanding our privilege, I don't like the conversation about giving up rights and comfort. And I also say, JFJ, we have supported over 100 people who were detained under the state of public emergency. You hear about the popular case that we brought to court, the Everton Douglas case representing 5 men. Those men were detained without any charge at all for over a year. They had far-reaching consequences. One of them, again, missed the birth of his daughter. One almost went blind. One lost his house. These are real consequences, you know. And then people put you in this box that you're a murderer. Never mind that you were never charged. So I can never speak from a place of privilege to say, let's give up some rights. When you look at the data from the Office of the Public Defender, over 10,000 Jamaican citizens were detained under the state of public emergency, and only 5% were only ever charged. 5% of 10,000. So I ask you the question, those 95% of that 10,000, let's go put it to them, how they feel about the SOE. And I will ask you what you think that answer would be.
All right.
They wouldn't like it.
We're almost out of time. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to say exactly what you want to see happen.
We're saying to the government of Jamaica, stop using powers in the Constitution that were never designed for routine crime fighting measures. Please get creative, get the work done, and ensure that the rights of Jamaican citizens are respected. No longer can we go down this route for political expediency where we forget about the rights of the poor, marginalized Jamaican citizens. It's not criminals we're defending. We're defending the rights of the poor people of Jamaica who can't afford the top lawyers to protect them. Those are the people that Jamaicans for Justice we're speaking for. And I hope Jamaican citizens will stand with us and say, government, get to work.
Good to see you. Thanks for speaking with us this morning. Have a great day. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day yourselves.
Yeah, man. Jamaicans for Justice Executive Director, Mikel Jackson. I'll only say that we need the security services, we need the security forces, and they have a huge job. And yeah, maybe we're not getting everything right, but boy, we need to just fix the country. And I've said it 1 million times. Them can't stop it. The Prime Minister can't stop it. The Minister can't stop it. All of us have to come together and decide we've had enough. Only we can stop it. All right, coming up next, social media and defamation. You don't want to miss that conversation. Soon come.